Yo, hello everybody, and welcome to another one-on-one with CST Gaming. And today's guest, Wrong Side Simulations. What's up, buddy? How you doing today, man?
Man, I am good. A little bit worn out from today's sim session, like we were talking about earlier. But
Nice.
very happy to be here. Thanks for having me on.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It's been a long time coming, and we've been talking about it here for a few weeks now, but we finally got the time. I know that you're busy with work and life and all that good stuff, so I am glad to have you on finally here on one-on-one, man. Thank you for coming. We do have a couple of people here on chat. We got Skywise. Welcome aboard a Boeing Aviation 737. Good to see you, man. Fred, Captain Irish, Mamba. What's up, Mamba? My dude. Who else do we have? I think that's it for right now. If you haven't already made yourself known, go ahead and say what's up in the chat so we can say welcome aboard. And as always, please don't forget to hit that like. And yes, sir. The first thing I like to do, wrong side, is kind of give you the mic here. And why don't you go ahead and kind of introduce yourself. Let us know who Wrong Side Simulation is, and you know, maybe obviously we all know that one of your hobbies is flight simulation, but let you know what's some other hobbies that you enjoy doing on your spare time, and you know, that sort of stuff. And I'll bring up your page here at the bottom just for everybody's sake. This is Wrong Side Simulations YouTube page here. please go give him a subscribe. Go check him out. He's a very cool dude, and he does some very cool shit. But over to you there, wrong side man.
Hey guys, so for those of y'all who don't know me, my name is Blake, and I am Wrong Side Simulations. The whole thing behind Wrong Side, unlike most folks, I like to fly in the right seat. I like to be that one senior first officer that has his pick of schedule and never wants to take on the additional responsibility of sitting in the left seat. Um, but really, I got a left-handed throttle way back in the day, so I moved over to the right seat for realism, and I've just never gone back, and that's kind of turned into my YouTube identity. But anyways, so a little bit about myself outside of flight simming. I've been working in the aviation airline industry for 14 years now. Spent 5 years of that doing ground operations for Delta in my hometown of Monroe, Louisiana. Then I did another 2 years at regional airline in flight dispatch. Then I went to my current carrier where I dispatched for another 5 to 6 years. And then I was manager of flight dispatch for two. And now I'm currently transitioning into a new role that's a combination of dispatch manager and ops manager, where I'll be overseeing the entire operation, um, proving cancellations and doing like company wide briefings on hurricanes and Dave ops and all sorts of stuff. So that's kind of my professional background. Um, but the biggest thing for me as far as the professional side goes is I wouldn't be where I'm at today if it wasn't for the flight sim. The flight sim, being able to arm myself with as much cockpit knowledge, being familiar with the cockpit environment, systems, SOPs, flows, briefings, that kind of stuff. Kind of putting myself into the shoes of the pilot as best as I can has helped me out tremendously in a professional environment. It'll definitely translate over, especially in the flight dispatch, where pilots are having, say, an issue with their McDo. Maybe their gross weight on the bottom ECAM or the lower ECAM is incorrect. I'm not sure why. I can, being familiar with the McDo in the pages of the FMGC, can walk them through how to get that fixed. So there's that. As far as other hobbies, in the little spare time that I have, for those of y'all who know me and have been following my channel for a while, I started streaming as a flight sim YouTuber back when I was a dispatcher, and I used to work 7 on, 7 off, so I had plenty of time to stream, and life was great. And now life is still great, but taking on a lot of the extra responsibility in the management role definitely eats up a lot of time off. Um, so not as much time off anymore, but I do, as y'all can see, I got some guitars behind me. I love to play guitar. You can tell by my accent, I am from the South, so I like to play and sing a lot of country music. Also, being
I
from
would have never
Louisiana,
guessed it. I would have never guessed that. By the
no,
way, you know.
yeah, most people say that. And also being from Louisiana, I'm a big LSU fan. If you ever visit my channel, you'll notice there's aspects of my channel where some words are spelled differently. Like I'll spell the word go GAUX. That's how we do it in Louisiana and with LSU. Um, so, anyways, that's the whole point of the LSU helmet behind me. But yeah, other than that, man, I like to just like the typical adult with no having no resources to do anything fun outside. Since I live in the city now, I like to go and drink beer and drink whiskey and drink coffee at coffee shops and eat lots of good food. In fact, we're going to a fancy smancy pizza joint tonight. Really
Nice.
good. They got a hella good kale salad. Super weird, but kale salads are good. But yeah, that's a little bit about me.
It's a little bit of Blake in a nutshell, pretty much, right? Awesome, awesome.
Absolutely.
So yeah, you mentioned obviously your love, flight sim being your hobby and all that good stuff, the guitars, and you did touch on your dispatcher job. So a lot of people would wonder, what is it like being a dispatcher? Is it fun? Is it intense? Is it busy? Maybe you can kind of, because like we were talking before, and I told you I kind of thought about maybe possibly going that route, but then I was like, no, right? Because of my past and already being in that sort of field and not wanting to take on the burden and the headaches and all that good stuff again, right? So, if you want to touch on that for a little bit, it's up to you.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, I think how much you're going to enjoy it is really going to be dictated based off of how much you love aviation. Um, and for me, I'm a huge airplane nerd, right? So I thrive in professional aviation. Some of my dispatchers could give two shits about an airplane. For them, this was a well-paying, relatively easy job as long as you are good with remembering, regulatory type stuff. It's a pretty straightforward, easy job for the most part. There's going to be times, almost like being a cop, right, where there's a lot of things are just kind of chill, but then when it hits the fan, it hits the fan hard. Um, there are peaks of stress, especially in the summertime season. My carrier, we operate heavily into Florida, so there's times you might have three or four of your own aircraft holding, trying to run hold numbers for them, trying to figure out where they're going to divert to, if it needs to divert, who's going to divert first. Trying to prioritize those aircraft based off of holding fuel and that kind of stuff. Um, but for someone like me, that just really loves airplanes, love aviation, I mean, being a part of the operation, being that deciding factor in whether or not the airplane may or may not make it to their destination without diverting first, um, I love it. So it's a lot of fun. It's very very rewarding. Like we were talking about earlier, when you find yourself in a scenario where you got an airplane, trying to get to their destination, but you got a squall line that's rolling in. And now you got to make that decision as the dispatcher, since you have the top down view and you can see a lot more than they can. Are you going to try to drag race it and get out in front of the weather and beat the weather in? Or are you going to slow down, go behind the weather, um, and wait for it to pass? In that particular scenario, you can get bit in the ass either way. Obviously, if you don't beat the weather, if you go in front of it, you're smoked. Unless you have the fuel to go back down and around, and maybe coming from behind it. But even still, weather's very dynamic. It'll speed up, it'll slow down, it'll backbuild. Um, so even if you try to go the conservative route and say, "Hey, we got plenty of gas," we'll go from our planned cost index of, I don't know, CI 50, and we'll drop down to CI 0, save more fuel, and really try to ride it out. That weather can slow down and just plan itself right over the field. So sometimes you're not going to make that right call, but when you do and you get in and like that the captain will be asking, he's like, "What are you seeing? What do you think? What should we do?"
Hmm.
You make that right call and you get on the ground, dude. It's so gratifying. Anytime
It's
that like
rewarding. Yeah.
you make the mission happen,
Mhm.
it's that's my favorite part of it.
Yeah, I can definitely
So
relate to it as well. Like, like I said, we were talking before, and I kind of did the same thing for a long time in the military. So yeah, I can kind of relate to that accomplishment, that the sense of reward. Okay, yes, we did it right. We made the right call. We did the right things, and it all worked out in the end. So yeah, it's awesome, dude. That's good stuff. Gary, welcome. Kelly Simmers in the house. What's up, Kelly Simmer? How you doing? Long
Callie,
time no
my
see.
dear.
There you go. There she is. Also, we had Captain Irish wanted you to let you know that he subscribed to your channel. So, thank you
Ah,
so much. Appreciate you. Let's go Tigers. Kelly Simmer says, "All right."
often as I would like to. But October is super. Mama said roll tide. Go Tigers.
roll,
Um,
roll Tide.
so the month of October for me is really really busy. It's my base month. So as a dispatcher in your base month, you got to do your recurrent training. Pilots do the same thing. The sim session I sat down on today was these two pilots recurrent training, which was very interesting. But I got to do my recurrent training, which is death by PowerPoint for 2 straight days. And then I got to do a comp check, which I did a couple of days ago, passed my comp check, so I'm good for another year. And then also in October we do our fall recurrent, where we're going to be getting ready for all of our fall operations that's going to be coming. We start refreshing on like holdover times, for de-icing. We start talking about different strategies that we see a lot with wintertime, like low IFR. There's different exemptions that we have to certain rules that helps us alleviate some of the problems that wintertime causes. So there's a lot going on in October. But now that we're out of October, I'm gonna be trying to stream a bit more. So
There
Captain
you go.
Irish, thank you so much for subscribing, my friend. Greatly appreciate it.
Awesome. Yeah. I find that always funny sometimes. In my case, for example, I'll get up in the morning early, like 6, 7 o'clock. and I look at my phone and I have a notification that says you were live like an hour ago, and I'm like, what the hell? I thought
Yeah,
YouTube was
sometimes
broke that
the
a minute.
no, sometimes the
You be
only
doing some
time
of
I
the
can go
late night
live,
stuff.
yeah, I can only go live. Not only, but some of the times I can really only go live when I'm going through months like October. Um, is when I get off of work, and I'm an overnight shift guy, so I get off of work at 1 in the morning, and sometimes I just had that bug, man. Like all I want to do, especially when I'm sitting in the operations control center, the beating heart of an airline.
Hmm.
I'm talking airplane stuff all day, every day, and I've got plenty of colleagues that are huge airplane nerds.
Hmm.
We'll sit and talk airplanes, right? And all I want to do is go home and fly my sim. So
Right.
sometimes it might be 2:30 in the morning, but we'll do a quick little
We'll make it
wrong
happen.
side red eye stream. Yeah.
We'll make it happen.
Hmm.
The truly wrong side after dark, right? So
Right.
yeah, awesome. I mean, am I right by kind of stating that your job is mainly what got you into flight simming, or were you into flight sim before you got your job?
So flight sim got me into this job.
Into the job, okay.
Yeah, I've always been infatuated with airplanes.
Hmm.
I think like most kids, you grow up watching airplanes. My grandpa used to take me to the airport and we'd watch the Delta MD-88s
Yep.
um, taking off and stuff. And so I was always infatuated with it, but I never thought that I would ever be smart enough to be able to do airplanes. Because you always think pilots are super smart and are really good with math and all that. I'm the worst with math. Um, so I never really thought it was a real possibility. And then I bought FSX. I graduated high school in 2009. I remember I was walking through Target one day and I saw FSX. And so that kind of kicked everything off. I started playing around with it on a laptop, started trying to learn, some of the aircraft stuff, and was getting somewhat decent at it. And back then, like we didn't really have YouTube to watch how-to videos on how to, shoot an ILS or how to start up an airplane.
Yep.
Um, so at the time I was selling like sporting good equipment at Hibbett Sports. Hated it. One of my coworkers was doing that, but he also worked at Continental at the time. And this is before SIDA day, so he was like, "Hey man, you should come to work with me and work a shift with me. I think you'd like it." I mean, I got to like marshal in the E-145 and go like do the safety search or the
Hmm.
security search around the cabin and stuff. Like this is way better. So I ended up getting a job at Delta, doing all the ground handling, above and below wing operations. And for me, at that time, like I was making $8 an hour. It was never about the money, but it gave me access to pilots and to ask them questions. And like, hey, so like right now I'm trying to learn the CRJ 700 and FSX. How do I tune the frequency for an ILS? How do I shoot the ILS? How do I capture the ILS? Um, Different little things like that, right? Like it was all about the knowledge. Because I had every intent of becoming a pilot. While I was doing that, I joined the Air Force as well, and I was in the Air Force for a little while. Ended up getting out on a medical issue. Um, Through that, they were going to send me. The VA was going to send me to Louisiana Tech, get my aviation degree, and I was going to go be a pilot. Then, of course, in the government's way of doing things, they changed the laws, and that was no longer going to be able to do anymore. We're like literally like a week away, 1 week away from pulling the trigger on starting school, and the FAA
Hmm.
was like, "Nah, you need 1,500 hours now instead of the airline mandated, usually about 300, 350 hours." So the VA was like, "No, not happening."
Yeah.
They wanted me in the right seat of an airliner right out of college. It wasn't going to happen. So dispatch was the next best thing for me. So they ended up paying for my dispatch license. I went to Institute of Flight Operations and Dispatch in Dallas, and I kind of went in there with a chip on my shoulder because of the flight sim. Because at that point I'd gotten way better at flight sim. I had a much better, I'm not going to say good, but a better understanding of aircraft systems. I was like real big on the Captain Sim 757, who actually used to put out good shit back
Yep.
then.
Yep.
And then I walk into the room and like I start talking to people and find out their backgrounds, and oh, that was way low on the totem pole. We had so many like military guys in there. We had real airline pilots that were in there just getting their license, just in case they ever lost their medical, they'd have something to fall back on. So I learned real quick that I wasn't shit. Um, but yeah, so then like becoming a dispatcher, the best, probably the coolest part of being in flight dispatch at an airline is we have access to CAS, so we get to go jump seat on any U.S. carrier, any domestic flight. So you get to go see firsthand all the stuff that we dream of here on our PCs. And so through that, I've been able to learn a ton more because it's given me more access to pilots and ask more questions and then come back. I mean, in fact, today in the level D sim that we did today, there's a lot of stuff that I learned that I'm not now going to be able to come back and implement into my sim and into my live streams as well. Um, so it's the funny part of it is, yeah, that was today. The funny part of it is the flight sim is what pointed me in this direction, and the flight sim was also what showed me like, hey, like I'm still kind of stupid, but I can do this shit. I mean, I've always been the type of person. If I'm interested in something, I'll be able to do it. Um, but if it wasn't for the flight sim, if FSX never existed, I would not be sitting here where I am now, and especially prepared. I went to prepared X Plane, now Microsoft Flight Sim. If it wasn't for the sims, man, I would not be sitting where I am now. I have no idea what the hell I'd be doing right now. I would be screwed.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, because like I said, some people it's the job that kind of gets them into flight simming, and
Hmm.
in your case, it was flight simming, and you're like, hey, I want to work in aviation, right? For me, it was definitely the other way around. I started obviously working on airplanes at a very young age and developed that love for aviation, and then good buddy of mine, Jamie, is known as Captain Bios on Discord. Used to work with me in the military as a mech, and he's the one that got me into flight sim. And it's like, hey man, let's fly sim, and we started doing the VATSIM thing. And as a matter of fact, back in those days, when the Wright Fly brothers and all that good shit, a long, long time ago, um, we used to fly on a different network. It wasn't called VATSIM; it was called something else. I forget exactly what it
IBAO.
was. No, it was even before that.
Mm,
Um, if he was here, he'll tell you. He would probably put it in the chat, but he's probably flying because now he's a real pilot. So
mm,
he was a mechanic with me in the military, and after he retired, got his license and became an airline pilot. So he works at Pittman now, and he's flying regional jets. And yeah, so he went from fixing them to flying them. Sometimes he's out there, he's telling me stories, man, and he's telling maintainers how to fix the plane is about to go flying. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of
mm-hmm.
funny to hear that type of shit. And obviously the maintainers are like, how this guy knows this stuff, right? It's because he's been
Yeah,
fixing it for the past 20 years, right? So that's always an interesting conversation when he has started. Maybe I should bring him on one of these days, man. Kind
sure.
of kind of talk about his stuff. But let's switch page here. So obviously we talked about what got you into flight simming. Um, what got you? Because there's a lot of young people here that they want to stream. They want to do upload content. They want to stream. They want to be like the next best. They want to be the Captain Canada of the YouTubes, right? They want to be the Jeff Fabiano. All those big names, right? I want to be like that guy. I want to. Obviously,
Hmm.
it's. I would say if you want to stream, don't do it for that reason. But my question to you is, what got you into streaming? Why did you one day get up in the morning? You're like, well, you know what? I'm gonna start streaming. What got you into that?
Dispatch. Somebody's probably needs to start running a timer and see how many times I say the word dispatch in this stream. Um, so a lot of people don't know about flight dispatch. I mean, even people who work at airlines, they might hear the word or the department flight dispatch, but they have no idea what flight dispatchers are, what we do. Um, so being that I have that background, plus I just love airplanes. Streaming was a way for me to be able to share the knowledge of dispatch, what we do, how you can do it. I know there's a lot of people out there who can't fly because of medical reasons or it costs too much damn money. I mean, it costs $5,500 and about 5 to 6 weeks of training to get your dispatch license. And if you're 23 years old, you can go straight into a dispatch job and start ground school. So it's very, very accessible and you can learn a shit ton. It's probably the best hidden gem in 121 aviation altogether, where your head hits the same pillow every night. You're involved in the operation from a technical aviation standpoint, um, but you get to go fly in the cockpit anytime you want to. So it's like you're kind of a pilot, but you're not at the same time. You have that quality of life of being at home, but then you can go fly around in the cockpit anytime you want to. You get access to like stuff I was doing today in the level D sim. When I first started at my carrier, I had really good fueling practices. So my leadership rewarded me with an hour in the flight sim. Um, I don't know if many people know this, but it costs roughly $1,000 an hour to go
Oh
fly a
yeah,
level D sim.
it's not cheap.
So
Yeah.
no, so getting to do that for free was massive, and then it's also helped me kind of gauge where my knowledge was at. Um, Taking what I learned in the sim and then go try to put it in more or less the real thing. It was really cool because
Yeah.
more or less I did kind of know what I was doing, and I learned a shit ton that day. I just started at my carrier. I was more of a Boeing guy back then. Now I'm a little bit more Airbus. Um, but having the instructor there to like physically show and like touch everything, like I learned so much that day.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, so dispatch was one of the primary things, but also I just got really like Microsoft Flight Sim 2020 had just come out, and I think I can speak for all of us that when we all started flying 2020, there's so many moments where your jaw is just on the floor and how
Hmm.
beautiful this sim is, especially coming from X Plane and even more so P3D. And I was kind of like lonely. I hated only having that moment to myself, and I kind of wanted to share it with other people.
Hmm.
So I was like, you know what? And I have to throw this in too. I thought about streaming well before 2020 ever came out, but like one of my perceptions on the flight sim community back then, and fortunately I've been stood to be mostly corrected. But my perspective back then was that most folks who were going to be watching a flight sim stream are going to be the know-it-all, like, oh, that's not how you do this, and
Yeah. Yeah.
EasyJet does it that, and I didn't want to listen to that shit because I understand like every airline has SOPs, and a lot of people don't know that. My good buddy Rio, he's one of our air traffic control coordinators at my carrier. For 2 years he hammered my ass. He's from Africa, so he's got like the coolest accent. He's like, "Bruh, you're so incredibly amazing, bro. You got so much knowledge. You gotta go. You need to stream. You need to share it." So if it wasn't for him, I never would have. I don't think gotten the balls to stream. Um, and it's really funny now, kind of coming full circle to this new role that I have. I'm no stranger to being on some like teams meetings and calls and stuff with work, but it's usually with like small groups and typically people that I know.
Hmm.
Now in this new role, I'm gonna be narrating and running calls that are company wide amongst hundreds of people. And I think for most people that's obviously kind of intimidating. But when you do this, when you talk to virtual people all the time and you're just
Hmm.
used to staring into a little camera, now like that does it's not going to bother me. I'm going to be able to function and not be stressed and think clearly, especially when delivering very technical information. um I'm going to owe a lot of that to streaming, to all
Yeah.
of y'all in the chat that I get to talk to y'all even though I can't hear you back. um I'll be, it'll be like, in fact, that's what I told my director whenever we were chatting about that aspect of the job. I was like, yeah, like with my background in YouTube streaming, that ain't nothing. I'm used to talking to
Yeah.
people that's
Yeah.
almost like not there.
Yeah. That's the thing too, man. When you first start streaming, right? If you're not, I mean, if you're already good at public speaking and being that, have that social experience, then obviously it won't come as hard for you to stream, right? You're just gonna naturally start streaming, and you're just gonna talk into the camera like any other thing. But I've seen a lot of people struggle with that, right? So it's
Mhm.
one of those things that a lot of people have even quit because of. What I would say is the more you do it, the better you get, right? Especially if you've never
Mhm.
done it before. You're not
Yeah.
gonna get on in front of a camera streaming, and you're not gonna know it all, right? You're not gonna be perfect at it. So just keep on it, man. That's what I
Yeah.
would tell some people. But
Yeah.
yeah, that's
100%.
interesting stuff, dude.
Yeah.
I started doing it pretty much for, I would say, the same reasons. Obviously, the thing is, I loved the FS pick a number. I think I go as back as playing Flight Simulator, if you wanted to call for Flight Simulator, on Commodore 64 when I was shit. My father had a Commodore 64, and one of the first game I played on a flexible floppy disk was Microsoft Flight Simulator. I don't even know if it was called Microsoft Flight Simulator in those days. I forget. Maybe it was just called Flight Simulator or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah, I
But
think it was.
it was literally the gauges, right? And it's like 1 frame per second, right? You're just flying along, and I thought that was the best shit ever, dude. I was like, oh wow, this is an airplane, right? And then I have literally um, played all of the iterations of Flight Simulator. Starting from that to then obviously the other versions of it, because they were different on the Commodore 64. I remember playing 2 or 3 different versions of the actual game, and then finally Flight Simulator 98, 2002 I think was after that, 2004. FSX was like FSX was kind of like 2020 back in those days, right? It was like, oh wow, look at this, right? This
Yeah.
is amazing. I never got the so whenever I stopped with FSX back in those days, because FSX was not doing it for me anymore. I never got into the P3D and X-Plane hits, right? I just stopped. I started doing other stuff. In fact, if you look at my channel, um, all my old flight sim stuff is gone, and you'll see where I started, pretty much where I left off with flight simulation, and I started doing other stuff like, ATS and 5M, Grand Theft Auto, and I started doing other games, right? But then 2020 came out, and I was like, okay, I got to do 2020. We all know 2020 was not the best when it first came out, so I didn't start really getting into it right away, but it got better quick, right? I think in the first year we were like, okay, this is going somewhere, right? Especially with Fly by Wire coming out with their free 320 and a lot of those things, right? PMDG finally dropped with the 737s, right? It just kept getting better and better and better, and I kept flying more and more and more. But like you said, I was just over here sitting by myself, and I'm like, and I'm watching other people on YouTube flying and sharing their experiences and knowledge and whatnot with their community, with the people in chat. And I was like, I want that. I want a community. I want people that I fly with, right? So let me put myself out there, and let me see if I can find like-minded people, right, that want to come join me and fly with me, or come be a part of my community and support the channel, support me as a streamer, content creator, whatever. uh, Obviously, like we were talking before, I'm 45 going on 46. um, I am fortunately in a spot where I can consider myself very fortunate to be in. And flight simulation is kind of like what used to be my job back then. The reason why I get up in the morning is like, I want to go fly sim, right? Because I've retired from the military, and I'm fortunate enough to uh, I'm in a position right now where I can take a break from a full-time job. So I have some part-time gigs here and there, but for the most part, I just I have my hobby. I have flight simulation, right? Among other things, motorcycles and toys. You know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, I love the flight sim, dude. So what's better than flight simming with other people, right?
Yeah.
So yeah,
100%.
that's the main reason, right? So yeah, I can definitely
Here's
relate.
here's a question for you.
Yeah.
Say Toga in the chat. The question is: streaming worth it as a full time job, or does not pay the bills? Does it not
I
pay the bills?
will tell you this. Um, there's people on YouTube, there's people on TikTok, there's people everywhere online. Pick a social network, right? Whether it's TikTok, YouTube, Twitch, and there's others now that just started. I forget what the other one is called. Rumble, I think Rumble, and so on and so forth. Right? There's people out there
Hmm.
making money. There's people out there that use it as a mean to put food on the table and put a roof over their heads. One of those people is Kyle, Captain Canada. That's his full
Hmm.
time job. I'm
Hmm.
pretty sure that there's other people such as London Controller, and I know that Chewy used to do it as a job, but Chewy now works for Microsoft Flight Sim, so he works for Microsoft
Yeah.
directly. So it has become I guess, a part-time gig. The stream and stuff has become a part-time gig. I haven't talked to him personally, so I'm just speculating. I don't want people to like start jumping me in the chat, but I am guessing that streaming for him is kind of like a part-time kind of gig now. His full-time job is to be the community manager with Microsoft, right? So that's what he's doing now. We got people like Jeff Favignano out there. He's on YouTube and Twitch. He's fucking huge. And I will tell you right now, that's his job, right? And he doesn't do just flight simulation. He does a lot of shit. I mean, Jeff Favignano is everywhere, bro. And he's very talented. He does a lot of great stuff on his channel, both Twitch and YouTube. So yes, it is possible. But when you look at those people that are doing those things, I would challenge you to go look at their channel, right? And go and watch their first ever stream. Okay. And
I've done that.
Not only that, watch their first ever stream and then go watch them from their first ever stream 3 years into them streaming. Right? Some of those people are talking to 3, 4, 5 people in chat 3 years in them streaming. So if you start YouTubing, if you start Twitching, if you start doing all this stuff because you want to make that your job, I would say start doing that, but don't quit your day job, right? Because it's not gonna, you're not gonna see any type of benefits right away with YouTube, right? People like those, they've been streaming for decades. Jeff Favignano, I remember watching Jeff Favignano freaking 20 years ago on YouTube, right? So these people have been doing it for a long time. And it's not, I will tell you this, am I making money on YouTube? Yes, I'm making money. It's chump change. It ain't shit, right? It's just something. And most of the time I throw it back at the community, you know, in a form of giveaways and all that other good shit, right? And I use it solely for the channel. So if I need to buy a freaking lever from Anicom Bravo, that's what I use the YouTube money for, right? So I'm kind of throwing it back at the channel, at the community, that type of stuff in a form of either peripherals that I might need to better my experience and provide better content for you all. And at the same time, you know, spend money on giveaways, you know, in a form of gift cards and shit like that. And tillers, you all know, a lot of people know me for the tillers, but that's what I do, right? So, and at the end of the day, it's not even enough for me to do that, right? So it's not a whole lot. And I'm already a little bit over 4,000 subscribers. So keep that in mind, right? It's, I'm not doing it because of the money. If I was doing it because of the money, I wouldn't be able to survive right now, right? So that's not why I'm doing it. But yes, there's people out there that do that, but it's not an easy road to partake. It's not an easy route to take, right? So especially when it comes to, and you might agree with me on this, Blake, when it comes to flight simulation, right? Flight simulation is so small when it comes to, it's such a small community, right? When you look at the big YouTubers, when it comes to flight simulation, the first, when I say YouTubers, I mean just YouTubers. I don't mean streamers in general, right? I mean YouTubers. Some of the biggest YouTubers barely get to 100,000 subscribers, right? But when you look at streamers, content creators that are not just flight simulation, but they do a lot of shit, right? One that comes to mind to me that I watch all the time, his name is Drake. I don't know if you ever came across his channel, but he plays everything. Like this dude does everything. I mean, he's up there in, you know, a couple of million, 4 million subscribers, right? And yes, this guy's probably raking in some dough, right? That's definitely his job. But it's not easy, man. So if you want to do it as a job, I would say that one game is probably not going to do it, right? And if it does it, it's going to take a long time, right? People like Captain Canada on YouTube are where they had after 10, 15 years of streaming, right? So keep that in mind, right? But that's what I would say. And the other thing that I would say is if you want to start streaming, I would say do it because it's fun. Do it because you want to share your hobby with people in chat, a community you might want to build it. And then in the long run, if you keep on it and it becomes something else, so be it, right? Maybe one day it'll start earning you money to where it's like, you know what? I can probably quit being a dispatcher and I can just YouTube, right? But until then, I would say keep your day job, right? Don't be like, okay, I'm gonna start this YouTube thing. Hey, fuck face, I quit. I'm gonna start my own YouTube thing, right? Yeah, don't do that because that's probably not gonna be a good thing.
I
Right?
can guarantee it ain't gonna be, especially since 2020 came out. Now everybody's sim looks really good, so
Hmm.
now everybody's like down to stream.
Oh yeah.
And back to your point of flight sim being such a small niche community, it's super small where a lot of people, most people, I won't say most, but a lot of people stream to some degree. So now
Yeah.
you kind of have an oversaturated market. Um,
Absolutely.
and the guys that have been doing it for so long, they got into it before it became an oversaturated market.
Oh yeah, you look at some of those people; they're like streaming X Plane 9, right? You go to
Yeah,
their whole videos, XFX type stuff. Yeah. Um,
yeah,
Midnight Maverick, what's up, brother? He's in the chat. He says, "You gotta do it for the right reasons, for your happiness and passions, or to bring positive change to the world or others." Absolutely, man. That's
100%.
precisely, I think we're all saying the same thing, just in different versions, right? Just do it because you like to do it. Don't do it because you want it for it to be your job. And then again, and that's if I've spoken, I've listened to Kyle, Captain Canada, and he didn't start the shit to make it his job, right? He was always he had another job, he professional welder, right? So that's what he did, and after so many years of streaming, he noticed, all right, well, let me. I think he said it was during the COVID era where he's like, okay, I can't go to work. I'm gonna go full on this YouTube thing and let's see where it takes me. And that's when he decided to unplug from everything else and make that his thing, right? Because it was going good for him. So that's when he took off and kind of said, okay, I can do this, right? But yeah, I wouldn't like the main thing I would tell people is just do it for fun, dude. Just do it to enjoy yourself. And the other thing that I have experienced in my personal position, right, when it comes to YouTube, I've done other stuff in the past, right? Um, and when I was doing content creation more than streaming, where it was like record, um, edit, upload, that type of stuff. And I was on a strict like, okay, I need to upload 3, 4 videos a week. They need to be this long. They need to have this type of content. And I was doing 5M, so you had to literally play 5M for like 6, 7 hours straight just to get like 15 minutes of fucking content, right? Because 5M is like I'm patrolling, we're doing role playing, right? I may
Mhm.
sit as a police officer or a sheriff, I may sit in the side of the road for like 2 hours before I get somebody speeding in front of me so I can go pull them over, right? And then I get that 5 minute, the 5, 10 minute roll of content, okay, I got 5 minutes. Cool. Now I gotta wait another 3 hours to get another 5 minutes of content. So, dude, it became a job,
Yeah,
right? It became a job. And guess what happened right after it became a job?
lose
I
interest.
fucking I quit. I was like, I'm not
Yep,
doing this no more. This is bullshit, right?
yeah,
So the last thing you want to do is for this, for me, I don't know about anybody else. Everybody else might enjoy that. For me, when it starts becoming a job, I lose interest because it's like, wait, I'm getting up in the morning because I need to do this. But no, dude, if I don't feel like doing it, I'm not doing it. It's a hobby, right? If I don't feel
yeah.
like going to ride my motorcycle today, I'm not going to go ride my motorcycle, right? I treat this the same way, right? I do have a schedule on streams, and I'm usually on time. I'm always streaming on those days. And I didn't set a schedule until after I retired from the military because I knew I wasn't going to have the time to do it before. So now that I do, and I know those days are going to be free, and I'm going to be able to do that stream, that those are my days to stream. And the funny part is, I do very little flying when I'm not streaming. Right?
Mhm.
Yes, I do have people on Discord, and from time to time we go flying around together and stuff like that. But for the most part, if I'm flying, I'm streaming. Right? So yeah. But like I said, it's when I got back into streaming, which was about a year and a half ago, maybe now, a year and a couple of months, with flight simulation. I got back like no shit streaming. The one thing I told myself before I started doing it is like, this is not gonna be my fucking job, right?
Mhm.
It's gonna be something that I'll do because I'm not gonna look at numbers. I'm not gonna look at followers. I'm not gonna look at none of this shit. I don't care about nothing, dude. I'm just streaming. As a matter of fact, we were talking about my band count, right?
Mm.
You know,
Mhm.
I don't know if it's something I need to be bragging about, but I have literally more people banned on my list of banned people than I do on subscribers, right? It's because I'm very strict when it comes to my community in general. Same thing with the Discord. That a lot of people are like, I don't know, dude. It's got to be like-minded
Control.
people, dude. I don't want little kids in Discord just causing hell and discontent, dude. I want people that are, even if they're teenagers, right? Even if they're like, 11, 12, 13, 14 years old, as long as they are responsible kids with a head on their shoulder, I'm okay with it, right? Are they going to be kids once in a while? Sure, they are. That's okay. That's fine. But if you're a nerd and you are just, you know what I'm saying, right?
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't have
People,
time for
anybody
that,
who
bro.
starts turning into a troll,
Yeah, I don't have
gotta
time
go.
for that, right? I already raised two
Mhm.
kids. I'm not raising more kids on the Discord or on the chat, right? It's not gonna happen. Um, that's me, right? Wrong, right, indifferent, it doesn't matter. That's just the way I am, right? So, and coming up after 26 years in the military and having to deal with a lot of kids, right? Coming up in the
Mhm.
military, I just don't have time for that shit no more, dude. I don't, right? So,
Yeah.
and the other thing is, I really need to be careful because I'm filterless. I don't have a filter, dude. I'm a sailor, right? So shit is gonna come out of my mouth, dude. Uh,
Same without being a
but
sailor. My
yeah,
dad was a
yeah.
sailor, so maybe
Well,
that's where I got it
that
from.
that's probably where you got it from. Yeah, absolutely,
Yeah.
100%. Um, well, we got somebody just joined here. We got Dominic. What's up, brother? How's that fest? The legend. Look at that dude. What's going on, Alice? Very easy. Midnight Maverick says very easy to get lost in the pressure of content creating to make everyone happy, but you can't just go to the genuine and true to yourself and do what you like. Can't please everyone but you. Exactly. I mean, that's the first thing you should do is just please yourself, right?
Yeah.
Um, and if you want to start streaming and start doing it, if it doesn't go well, then stop. It's not the end of the world, right? Only because you can't stream and make streaming your job, it doesn't mean you can't go do other things, right?
Yeah.
SimCFI is I don't know if you know SimCFI. He's a real pilot.
Mhm.
We got Fly Force and Giotti. Welcome, guys. Welcome, welcome, welcome. All right, let's switch gears real quick. So we talked about you. We talked about how you got in flight simulation, how you got into the streaming gig, and why don't you talk to us about a little bit of how expensive flight simulations can be, and what are some of the things there are in your, um, I guess, in your hangar over there in your room, right? That you
Yeah.
use to fly, whether it's Airbuses. We all know, at least I do. You're all about Airbuses, so you got a lot of Airbus stuff. But I think that recently you started adding some Boeing stuff in your collection as well.
Did. Yeah.
All right.
Kinda
Why don't you
circling
talk?
back to what you
Why don't you talk to us about your what is it, $50,000, $60,000 collection over there? What you got?
shit ain't that much, but it's enough to probably, I don't know, get your at least your commercial.
Yeah, yeah.
Maybe
It's
not
yeah.
maybe not your instrument, but you can get your commercial and what I've spent. Although a lot of it's accumulated
Of
over
course.
years.
Yeah,
But
yeah. Let's
yeah, man,
preface
we
that. Hold on. Let's preface that real quick. Look, you
mhm,
didn't buy this shit like yesterday, okay? This has been like over the years. He has bought one piece and then another piece, kind of like with me, with all of the honeycomb and the yolks and all this other good shit. I didn't just order this shit yesterday, right? It's like, okay, I got a stream deck. All right, now I need this.
yeah.
Okay, now and this is over 6 7 years, right? So accumulating stuff. But go ahead, Blake. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to
Yeah. No,
interrupt.
no, not a problem at all. And kind of circling back to what you're talking about earlier, where if you want to do this, if you want to stream as a job, um, don't quit your day job. Especially if you want to be a streamer and you want to have not just the typical commercial throttle, you want to have, more I don't know, higher fidelity
Hmm.
um hardware. Um a lot of your money, a hell of a lot more than what you're making as a YouTube streamer, it's going to have to go
Yeah.
towards that. So I'm in a very best position to where I can afford some nicer stuff. But when I first started streaming, I was with the TCA throttles and TCA side stick. Um, and then a colleague of mine got probably can't see it much down here, but there's a throttle back behind me. And that kind of what turned me on to like, oh, so there's people around the world that make aircraft specific like a little bit closer to one, if not 1-to-1 hardware. So that kind of got me on this train that has become very expensive. So in my collection of things, I'm gonna have to look around, make sure got everything. A lot of it y'all can't see; it's kind of off the out of the frame, but I've got a FlightSim PM 737 throttle. It's mostly one-to-one, made in Italy. I have a FlightSim PM Airbus throttle and add-on. So it's going to be your throttles, your trim wheel, your spoilers, flaps, kind of a lot of the stuff that TCA has, but it's going to be the correct proportions. It's going to have the
Hmm.
lift gates and the detents and all that stuff. Got the super excited about it. The WinWing FCU and EFIS panels. I don't know why that adds so much, but it's just so much less that you have to use a mouse
Yeah, of
when you
course,
got those.
100%.
Um, See, we got the FS Projects Airbus side stick, of course, on the FO side. Absolutely love that thing. It is a one-to-one to the real thing. I've got an Etsy radio panel. It's modeled after the 737, but until WinWing gets theirs out, it'll work for now. Have a Java simulator McDo, which we'll see a little bit more of in a clip later on that I know you want to show. That drives a lot of my pain and agony in Flight Sim. Flight Force, that's in the chat. He has also lived through some of that same agony, although I think he's gotten his working. I've got a one-to-one Airbus tiller. When it comes to the Boeing stuff, I'm a little bit more simple. I'm starting to kind of work my way towards the Boeing stuff now. I'm kind of happy where I've gotten with the Airbus, unless the day comes that I just want to get a full-fledged cockpit. But for my Boeing stuff, as we talked about, I got the 737 throttle. From there, that's kind of where like the non-commercial standard stuff ends. Um, but I do plan on getting the WinWing MCP whenever that comes out, and EFIS panels as well as CDU. I do have a Boeing CDU made by Will H, one of my subscribers and good friends. Um, I'm about to learn how to solder. I've never soldered before, but there's a little wire that popped off the circuit board, and now I got to solder it back on. But yeah, other than that, it's gonna be the typical stuff. Honeycomb Bravo. Oh, I do have a landing gear lever that I got off Etsy. It's got the pull out. It's kind of
Hmm.
Airbus modeled. Really enjoy that. Yeah, Honeycomb got the TCA Boeing yoke, which I really like. I watch a lot of V1. V1's somebody I would consider a friend. We talk a lot, and he's really good at selling shit.
Yeah, yeah.
Especially these like force feedback yokes and side sticks and stuff he's getting his
Mm.
hands on. He has me thinking about it, especially the yoke. I
Careful, dude.
do,
Careful.
bro. Like one yoke's like $1,500.
Yeah.
Um, Lately I've been flying a lot of Kodiak. I don't know if y'all saw, but there's a trailer that Aviation Lads did on a program called On Air Company.
Hmm.
And it's kind of like a very, very in-depth start your own aviation business
Hmm.
program. They had like a 7-day free trial. I tried it out, and I bought a Kodiak. I've been doing some flying. My main base is Jackson Hole, Wyoming. If you follow my channel, you know I love Jackson Hole. So I've been doing a lot of flying with that, and I can't imagine what that airplane would feel like with a force feedback yoke. It would be
That'll probably be
next
amazing.
level.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
And for the Airbus stuff, I would love to get a Moza side stick. Having it where you don't feel it just pop back into neutral with the springs and cams, I think would be super super cool.
What side
Um,
stick do you have?
I've got the FS Project side stick on a Thrustmaster base.
Okay.
Yeah,
I'm using the
very
wing
springy.
wing. I'm using the
Hmm.
wing wing one, and I will tell you, man, I was the same. So I was using before the wing wing. I had the Thrustmaster one, right? The one that
Hmm.
comes with TCA pilot, whatever the hell it's called. And like you said, it's springy as hell, dude. It just pops right back. The wing wing one, not only it doesn't do that because it's got a camshaft and it's a different setup. Not only
Hmm.
doesn't do that, but it's also adjustable to where if it's too springy for you, you can reduce that. It's got an
Hmm.
access panel at the bottom of the side stick itself. You can open that up, and there's screws to adjust. You can change the springs to make it a little less tension and whatnot. And it's a camshaft, right? It's not a bowl with springs and stuff like that, kind of like your side stick. Now I know it's not the quality of the ones that you're using. I think the one that you're using is a lot higher quality,
Yeah.
but I think that spring on those type of side sticks are very, very, very stiff. They're made more
Yeah.
for fighter jets, right? They're made for like DCS and shit like that. I think. Um,
Yeah.
but I tell you what, the Wing Wing side stick, I love it, dude. The minute I started using it, I was like, man, this feels so good. Now, what does the real thing feel like? I have no idea. I never put my hand on a real side stick of an Airbus, but I will tell you that if I had to pick between the Thrustmaster side stick and this side stick, this will be my number one pick any day of the week, right? Because of the adjustability that you have with the tensions, haptic feedback as well. So it
Mm.
vibrates like you let your landing gear down, and you got your because I have it mounted on my next level chair, do my whole chair shakes when this thing is like vibrating, right? I feel it, right? And I'm like, okay, cool. So it's I think it's pretty damn cool for the price point. So if
Yeah.
anybody was to ask me, it's like, hey man, I don't want to break the bank. I would definitely say wing wing all the way.
Yeah.
And since we touched on that, I think wing wing is fucking the market up, dude. They are gonna
Oh yeah. In a
revolutionize
great
it,
way.
dude. If they keep doing what they're doing, I think they're gonna break the market, dude. They're gonna break the flight simulation market, and they're gonna piss off a lot of people on the way. But I don't think they care about that, right? Because
Yeah.
we're going from not being able to touch a MIG-2 or an FMC for less than $500-600, right? To being able to get one that it's USB-C only, plug it into your USB slot, right? And it's like what, 150, 170 bucks, I think, for the MiG-2 that's coming out.
130.
130, dude. It's insane. 300
Yeah.
bucks, I think, 300 and some dollars for the full freaking FCU and IFUS panels left and right, dude. It's insane, right? This
Yeah.
it's never been done before. So I am very excited with everything that Wing Wing is doing, and I am hoping. I spoke to some people at the expo over there, and they kind of hinted to some cool shit, right? But I
Hmm.
am hoping that what I understood they were telling me was that they are modulating fucking everything, right? So
Yeah.
they're talking about modulating the center pedestal with the throttles and the MIP, the overhead panels. Obviously, it's going to take a while to get to that point to where you can go to Wing Wing and buy a full cockpit, but I think that day is coming, right? I
Yeah.
think the day is coming, and it's exciting as hell, dude.
There was an Instagram post whenever they were getting ready to release the ethos panels, and it said something along the lines of like engineering towards full cockpit, or something of that, basically referencing that they are planning on you know having a full cockpit setup that you'll be able to build out of their products. I will say the one thing that I wish that a lot of these Airbus stick makers would do, and maybe it's just a little bit on the cosmetic side, but to me, I just absolutely love it. I wish they would do the gators.
Oh yeah, that'd be awesome. Yeah,
Oh man, like even though it doesn't move kind of in the same way that an Airbus does, because it doesn't just pivot side to side. It's almost
right.
like it kind of slides a bit, but it's still it just when you look down and you see the gator and you kind of see it moving,
It's
it's
a
one of
cool
those.
touch. It's a cool touch.
Remember,
I wouldn't be able to use it because I use the buttons on there as well. So
mhm,
I have buttons mapped out. Literally, there's a lot of buttons on, like 14 buttons on this thing. But
yeah,
I use three buttons on there. That's it. One is for
mhm,
my GSX. I bring up my GSX. One is for to pause my TOBII tracker, and one is to recenter my TOBII tracker. That's it. That's what I use it for. It's right there. I just press it. I know exactly where. I don't even have to look at it. Right? It's right here. I can just feel it. I press the button, and that's it. But yeah, no,
yeah,
yeah. If they could just do that, that'd be awesome.
mhm.
Freaking CFI says, "F a here. I hope Win Win makes an RJ stuff." He's all about that RJ.
Yeah, I don't blame
We
them.
had Kelly Simmer agreeing here. Wing Wing is coming after everybody. Absolutely, yeah. Flight Force says he has the force feedback Moza side stick. He says he loves it. Yes, sir.
Yeah, if I got it, I'm sure I would love it too.
Hmm.
I would probably, but it's so tough because of the price point. You really have to decide: do you want a stick or do you want a yoke?
Yeah,
Now,
yeah.
some people are fine to fly a Boeing and an Airbus with one or the other, like both airplanes with that one piece of hardware. I don't know if I've just become too snooty or maybe it just ruins the realism for me. But if it's a yoke
Hmm.
airplane, I'm fine with a yoke, and if it's a stick, I'm fine with a stick.
Yeah,
It's kind of like makes me have to choose between one or the other just because they're so damn. Yeah, like Moses, like what, $500? When you start getting
yeah,
to the Brunner ones, them sons of bitches are like 12 to
yeah. They're
fifteen
not
hundred
cheap.
bucks.
They're not cheap. They're not
No.
cheap. And sometimes they're not the greatest things to deal with, right?
Mhm.
some of those peripherals that cause a little bit
Yeah,
of headache.
that's
Why
the
don't we
other
talk about
side of
that?
it.
Why don't we talk about
Let's
that
talk
for a
about
sec?
it. Yeah, so the other side of obviously it's cool to have cool shit to that you can actually, put your hands on, touch, and it's tangible. But that's also going to introduce a lot more pain in the ass with
Pain in the
getting
ass.
software to work to make it communicate with the sim, especially when you have different pieces of hardware that uses different pieces of software that are all trying to talk to the sim, and it's almost like they kind of interfere with each other.
Hmm.
Then you have some pieces of software, like Java simulators, McDo, and their damn software that for the like year and a half, 2 years I've had their McDo, rarely does it work. I mean, it's a $500 paperweight. Um, Flight Force has spent quite a bit of time with me on Discord trying to help me out. At times he's had his working and I've had mine working thanks to him, and other times both of ours ain't working. And like I think currently right now, his is, mine isn't. I tried everything and it just ain't working, so I'm just waiting
Yeah,
for Wing Wing. In fact, I've gotten so desperate, I've just taken my Boeing PDU and I just made a Mobi Flight profile, and I just have the buttons memorized so I don't have to read the buttons on the CDU to make it work with the Phoenix
there you
McDo.
go.
Yeah, so like there's ways around it, but man, talk about chat my ass. Especially you spend so much money
Yeah,
on this stuff and then it
yeah,
doesn't work. I
yeah,
get
absolutely.
I get frustrated.
So
Very frustrated.
you can definitely have some great peripherals and spend a lot of money on stuff. Oh hey, Mickey Mike is in chat. What's up, dude? Welcome, good to see you. We also have
Mike, what's up,
Jacob,
man?
Skywise Aviation. Welcome, guys. Welcome. If you're already done so, please don't forget to hit the like and definitely go check out Wrong Side Simulation on YouTube, man. Go check out his stuff. Give him a subscribe. He'll be back up and streaming here soon. Um, Obviously his job does not permit you to have a regular schedule, but you stream as much
Yeah.
as possible and different times of the day, so you were able to capture different viewerships and different times and stuff like that, so that's awesome too. But going back to the hard headaches, people that are huge on flight simulation, right? I consider myself big on flight simulation. You're big on flight simulation. I mean, spend numerous hours and money and time and effort and not only buying stuff and making sure the sim is running properly and computers. I mean, computers, dude. Come on, you gotta have like expensive ass computers to be able to run the sim a certain way. And I think Mickey Mike has been in that boat as well, where his computer is not worked or whatever, and he's all aggravated because whether it's OBS or whether it's a peripheral, whether it's a sim crashing, something is going on. Maybe you have a mod that's not working, but we all come to that one day, right? When it's like this is bullshit, right? And I want to show a video that I think kind of highlights that for us. You know, that one day that you just had enough. Like shit is just not working, whether it's like I said, peripherals, a computer or whatnot,
The
and
day
you
that turns
the
into viewer discretion is advised
the
type day.
day the day, the day that turns into that day hey man, you know, if there's any kids in the chat right now, I'm telling you right now, you might want to take them somewhere else. Let me make this full screen, that way we can enjoy it a little better. There you go. Also, I want people to see um the expression, because this is great. This is great. Guys, again, if there's kids in the chat, please take them somewhere else. We're about to see some good flight simulation stuff over here.
Fuck. Oh god. Fuck you, Flight Sim. Fuck everything about it. I am so fucking fed up with fucking goddamn fucking motherfucking challenges. Why can't shit just be fucking easy? Just plug it the fuck in and it fucking works. I don't goddamn under fucking stand it. Holy fucking motherfucking fucker. Fuck, fuckity, fuck, shit, fuckity, fuck, fucking balls, fuck this, fuck you, fucking Microsoft, fuck you FSUFPC, fuck you WinWing, fuck you Flight Sim PM, fuck you Extra, fuck you Java Simulator, you sorry piece of shit. Fuck you Radio Panel, fuck you Sidestick, fuck you Cat 3 Design, fuck you Apple, fuck you Microsoft. Just
Anyways, let's just say this. It wasn't a good day for any of those companies and developers. uh, this look when I saw this. So I didn't watch. I wasn't watching you when you were live. I don't know if
Mhm.
I was just not watching that day. I don't know. But Owls is like, dude, check this out. Like he showed me a clip, right? And dude, I was fucking dying, dude. I was crying for about an hour or so, because not so much. Well, obviously, for the way you reacted, it's hilarious, and at the same time, anybody that's in flight simming can relate, right? Anybody, myself included. When, like I said, CTDs of trying to figure out why the sim is not launching, or trying to figure out why a certain add-on is not working, trying to figure out why your throttle is quit. Like I had a time, I think it was last week or the week before, where I would just lose my rudder all of a sudden. I'm landing, and next thing you know, it's like, what the hell is no rudders? And you just fucking,
It's
you
happened to
know,
me too,
you just go in the dirt,
numerous
right?
times. Yeah, and
So
then
it's
it
like,
happens on stream, and you kind of like, I don't know about you, but when that kind of stuff happens to me on stream, I get a tiny bit, like a little bit embarrassed, and that just heightens the stress and the
oh
fight or
yeah,
flight even more, and I just get even more
100%.
mad.
100%, dude. Yeah, you just get more upset, right? But yeah, again, dude, it's anybody in this chat right now that has dealt in any way, shape, or form with flight simulation, they can definitely relate. We got Blue Games in the chat says, "Hey, he speaks for all of us." This is gold. Please clip it. Oh, it's clipped, all right.
Oh, my man. Yeah, and I knew I should have deleted that.
No, why,
Because
dude? Come on.
my luck, somebody I'm gonna be applying at a future airline, I'm gonna be applying at Airbus or something like that for a job, right? And somehow they're gonna find
Yeah.
that. That's gonna come back and get me in the
I
ass.
think the only time that would ever resurface and bite you in the ass if he was running for like politics or some shit.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
So if you ever
Yeah.
intend of running for governor or something, delete this shit. Right, delete
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. Other
Uh,
than that, it probably shows I'm a real human being and I
you're
get
a
pissed
real
off.
human being. Exactly, exactly. That's the way I look at it.
Yeah.
It was live, all right. He said everything we felt, laughing aloud. Yeah. Well, you got people that hold their tongue, right? And then you got people that just
Mhm.
like, kind of like I said when I started the stream, and we are just incapable of filtering anything that comes out of our mouth. So unfortunately, with me, and I think for Blake as well, as I've gotten to know him, if you hear us say it, we probably mean it
Mhm.
99.99% of the time.
Yeah.
That's exactly what we think. That's exactly what we feel like. That's exactly what we mean to say. So if we're saying it, you better believe it. Wrong, right, or indifferent. That's the way it rolls, right? That's the way we think.
Yeah. I
And I
think towards
think,
the end of
yeah.
that too, um, I think I did specify like, look, everybody that I said fuck you to really doesn't deserve it. Like most of these guys are
Well,
fine.
yeah, yeah.
Java Sim, fuck you. You can go to hell.
But at the end of
But
the
you.
day, like at the end of the day, even JavaSim, right? It's like you are just at that point, you are stressed out because nothing is going your way. So I think anybody that has a little bit of common sense is able to understand that, okay, obviously this guy doesn't want to break all this shit. Obviously, this guy doesn't want to say fuck you to all these people, but he's just stressed out, right? It just so happened that you were live,
Mhm.
right? But if you weren't live, you probably would be doing the same shit. Fuck you this, fuck you that. This is bullshit, right?
Yeah.
So that's what I'm trying to say is, he didn't do it because he was streaming. He did it because that's the way he felt. It needed to be said for him to release that freaking anger, release that moment of stress and aggravation that he was going through, and he got the shit out of his system, and good to
Get
go.
fine.
Right, right. So sometimes you just need to do that. Some people go to the gym, some people go on a jog, right? Some people just let it all out, right? We're kind of
Yeah.
like, I mean, you're in aviation, you know about Lux bottles, right?
Mhm.
You got to vent those. They got to vent, right? They got to have a relief valve, dude, because otherwise they blow the hell up. Well, that's our
Mhm.
way of venting so that we don't blow up, right? You got to vent once in a while. That's
Yeah.
the way I
And
look
what
at it.
Callie Simmer just said is 100% true.
Super proud of Wrong Side that day, because before that, he would have just rage quit, but he didn't. He kept going. There you go. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I've
I'm
had a
sure
few
the
rage
airline.
quits in my day.
I'm sure the airline agrees with fuck Microsoft. The systems went down that one day. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Blue games. I think we can all confidently say we have had those days. Absolutely, man. I mean, we all been through it, man. We all been
Hmm.
through it. We're just fortunate enough that wrong side was life for us to be able to witness that as well. Because
Yeah, and you know what? What's even
that's
funnier
funny,
about
dude.
all of this? How y'all see me on stream is how I am at work. I mean, I tighten things up a little bit more at work,
Sure.
especially me being management, and I'm over a CBA group. So a lot of times, depending on who they might be looking for me to mess up, to grieve me, Um, but nonetheless, like I have a reputation at work for being a straight shooter type of guy. Like I'm gonna tell you what I think. In fact, I interviewed for a senior manager role a couple weeks ago, and in that interview was my current boss in HR, and both of which know me very well. But even my boss was telling HR, was like, one thing I know about Blake and I love about Blake is that he is a straight shooter. He's going to tell you
Yep.
how it is. He's very very blunt and direct, but in a professional kind of way.
Hmm.
I've had my moments even on the dispatch desk where I've been like that. When
Yep.
it's a high stress job at times.
Oh yeah.
There's myself and plenty of other dispatchers where it's like motherfucker,
Yeah.
get out of the hold, go land. Like
So
we'll have plenty of things
Turbo,
to complain about.
Turbo is another fellow senior chief that I used to work with before I retired, and it will tell you right away. That's the way Mello was, right? That's the way uh, he was, a straight shooter, no filter, right? That's why. uh, So here's the thing: the way we are is rewarding because uh, people come to you because they want the right answer. They want to know exactly what's going on, right? They don't want to run around kind of like, because there's people that are like, oh, maybe I shouldn't be talking to this person. He's my boss, so maybe let me sugarcoat the shit a little bit, right? We don't
Hmm.
sugarcoat, right? We're like, hey, shit is fucked up, and this is what needs to be done, right? You give them the issue, you give them, and the solution at the same time, and tell them exactly how it is, right? Don't sugarcoat the shit. And at times, it kind of gets you in trouble too, right? um, it will get you in trouble. But at the end of the day, like you said, if they recognize that that you are that type of person, right? That yes, you are a certain way. You may speak a certain way. You may um, occasionally raise your voice, right? But at the end of the day, if you need shit done, that's the person you go talk to, right? And I don't want to like pat my own back, but that's the person I was, right? And like I said, Turbo, I worked with him for a number of years. He knows exactly where I'm coming from, whether it is from managing sailors to managing a flight schedule or managing maintenance. Always been that guy, right? And I've lost my fucking mind behind the counter during a meeting, right? Where and the reason why is this, right? Because a lot of kids don't get it. A lot of, and I call them kids. I'm talking about 20, 25-year-old sailors coming up in the military, right, as maintainers. When in the morning when we're in a meeting or where something happens and you bring people in to kind of be like, hey, this is the situation. The thing that a lot of this people don't understand is that when we fuck up, people fucking die, right?
Hmm.
That's the ultimate fucking message you try to bring across. So whenever you forget to torque a bolt or safety wire something or put the one in one occasion, this is what happened. We did a phase on one of the aircraft, right? And there's different steps when it comes into releasing the aircraft, safe flight, bringing it back up to the roof. I call it the roof. It's a flight deck, right? I'm talking about on a ship, right? So you have it down in the hangar. You do your phase. The phase usually lasts about 2 to 3 weeks on a E2, right? And then you button the thing all back together, only inspect, sign everything off. Uh, Collateral duties inspects everything. Quality assurance goes beyond the collateral duty inspectors. There's different levels of highs that get put on certain things, right? So if everything is done right and by the book, um, then technically nothing should go wrong. However, sometimes things are not done right and by the fucking book, right? So we send off a plane off the fucking pony end of a fucking carrier, and it comes back around the land, and then you gotta not only it's the in my particular occasion it was a plane that I released safe for flight because I reviewed everything was signed off, everything was done right. So I don't go look at the plane. right? I'm the manager, right? I'm looking at all the paperwork. I'm making sure everything is online, is good to go, right? I make sure that everything is inspected by a collateral duty where you need a collateral duty to inspect something, and I make sure that everything is looked at by a quality assurance officer where a quality assurance officer needs to be looking. So after all my stuff is done, I sign the aircraft safe for flight, give it to the pilots. The pilot signs the plane and takes it, right? And he goes flying. When he comes back and he catches the number 3 wire, all the fucking 6, 7 floorboards, right, that are supposed to be securely fastened to the fucking ground of the aircraft come flying forward because he just caught the wire, right? Because they were not secured to the fucking ground, right? And potentially could have killed somebody. He's coming downstairs, and this is a calm and collective person, right? This was a he was a commander. He was a 05.
Mhm.
And he talks to me. He pulls me aside. He's like, hey, I seen Chief. I need to talk to you. And this is what happened, right? And he's all calm about the shit, right? And I'm like, I'm sorry. What did you say, sir? He's like, well, we cut the wire, and floorboards came flying through the fucking cockpit door. And I'm like, really? Okay. So I proceeded to call a meeting with all the fucking CDIs and quality assurance, and I the skipper was there, the maintenance officer was there. They wanted to have their word. So I told them, sir, you got anything to say? And they're all calm and collective and all the, upper officer, upper management type stuff, right? They're like, hey, look, guys, we should probably slow down, maybe look at stuff a second time, And then when the skipper and the maintenance officer got done, I politely asked them if they had anything else to say. And they said no. And I told them if they could leave, right? So they said, oh, yeah, no problem, Senior Chief, we can go. And they left. They went to the ready room. And at that point, I proceeded to fucking losing my mind. Right. And there was a lot of F-bombs dropped, and there was a lot of shit said that maybe as a senior manager or senior member of the United States Navy, maybe I shouldn't have said. But at the same time, there's times where you can talk a certain way, and there's times where you kind of need to get the message across, especially when you are 3-4 months into a fucking cruise, right? And there's about another fucking 3 or 4 months to go before you even get to go home. And this type of shit is already happening. We can't fucking do this, right? So, yeah, and just to give you an example of if something like that was to happen, I think in today's military, I would probably got fired, right?
Oh yeah.
Because today military is I don't want to say that it's bad. I'm just gonna say it's different than what I was used to, right?
Yeah.
Um, and I think a lot of the difference are not. I don't think it's for the fucking good. To be quite honest with you, I think a lot of the shit that's going a certain way right now. I think in the very near future is going to change back to the way it was because the military has always been that way, right? It's like, oh, what's the worst that could happen? We get burned. We just make the water look colder, right? And go back the other way, right? So it's always been that way, right? It's like, okay, what happens if we, do it this way, right? It's kind of like testing the water before you go take a shower. Oh shit, it's too hot. Let me make it a little cooler, right? Right. So that's kind of like that's kind of like the way the fucking military operates, right? And the big motto with the military, especially in my occasion, has been do more with less. You always got to do
Mhm.
more with less. Whether it's less parts, less people, less money, less planes, you name it. It's always like, okay, well, look, we need to do 4 or 5 missions a day, but we only got 2 planes. But wait, we used to have 4 planes. What the fuck? Well, now we got 2, but we still need to do 4 or 5 missions a day. So you gotta
To
you
figure it
gotta
out.
you gotta figure this shit out, right?
Yeah.
So yeah. Again, like we were saying before, I would do it all over again. I loved every minute of it, and I think by the time I got done with it last year, um, I was glad to be done with it because a lot of things is changing into something that I'm not accustomed to, right? And I think that's normal in a way, but at the same time, it's like, what the fuck, right? Um, but yeah, so that was my thing. Um, in the same way, especially show up to work. Oh, I am the same way, especially when I show up to work and my Segway isn't charged. Laughing my ass off. Fucking making it my day.
Damn, you get to have a Segway? They don't make you run everywhere?
No, he likes to brag about that, but he doesn't have a real Segway, dude.
Uh,
Captain Zeb, what's up, dude? All right. So yeah, that was we got into this rant about filter and unfilter and all the good stuff, but
yeah.
yeah, everybody's been there, dude. Everybody's been at the peripherals, and yeah, it is a lot of money. I don't have a lot of the cool shit you got, but I do have cool shit, I think. I work mainly with my Honeycomb Bravo with a whole bunch of freaking levers and stuff like that for the different planes, and obviously I got my Thrustmaster expensive pedals and side sticks and yokes and my homemade tiller that a lot of people in the chat, even some people in the chat have. Yeah, it's not cheap, dude. I got two computers. So I started with one computer, and then I upgrade, but I never get rid of stuff, right? So I
Mhm.
upgraded my computer, and now I still have the other computer. For a long time, I started using it as a streaming PC, but then at the same time, uh, I think it was like a month or two ago, I was like, dude, I got a computer with a 4090. Why do I need two PCs to stream, dude? There's no reason for that, right? So I
Yeah.
started streaming on one PC again, and now I have this extra computer. I might turn it into a separate driving rig, so kind of bring back my ATS stuff and racing that I used to do in the past. I'm kind of playing with that idea, but I'm not quite sure yet. We'll see how that goes, because I would have to rearrange a whole lot of stuff.
Who said
Blue
do it?
Game says, "Yeah, do it now." Yeah, I've already got,
Yeah.
dude. I got wheels, I got shift, I got all kinds of stuff, man. I used to be big into that stuff too. I have the Ethan Fuller shifter that I actually made myself, dude. I bought. I don't know if you're familiar with trucking, but I bought a real Ethan Fuller shifter for a real truck, right? That's the one
Oh, wow.
with the range knobs and everything else, and I turned it into a USB with a Arduino board and everything. So
Yeah.
I took it apart. I put switches in it to make it work with an Arduino board, and I plugged it in, and I have a freaking Ethan Fuller shifter for my ATS, right? So I've always been fascinated with that type of stuff. That's why I started doing the tillers as well, and I've always been fascinated with do it yourself type shit. And I am also, and that takes me into the next question I was going to ask you, right? Which I am really playing with the idea of building my own full cockpit, right?
Mhm.
I have the room for it. I have a three-car garage, right? But it's divided into two. So I have a two-car garage on one side, and then I have a one-car garage on the other side of the house. And the one-car garage right now, it's a shop. It's like a wood shop, if you will, right? I do a lot of that stuff too. But I'm thinking about taking all that stuff out of there and making that a full simulation type, not motion, but you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
So I'm not 100% committed on Boeing or Airbus yet. I have put some thought into it, and I've come to the conclusion that if I wanted to do it, I think Airbus would be the easier route because of the simplicity of an Airbus when it comes with curry buttons, and it's a lot less complicated, I think, than it is vice the Boeing, right? The Boeing a lot more knobs and switches and crazy shit, right? When Airbus is push button and switches, that's it. That's all you got, push button and switches.
Yeah.
So I
Especially when you have to
think,
consider maintenance and repairs.
and DIY, right? Doing it
Yeah.
yourself, right? I
Mhm.
think just having to worry about push buttons and a few switches and stuff like that, I think it's gonna be a lot easier because let's face it, it's got a lot less fucking buttons and switches than the Boeing does, right? And analog gauges. I don't think there is. Does it have any? Does the Airbus have any analog gauges? I think
Depends
the
on
brake
the
the brake gauge, right? The
yeah, you
brakes
have
is
yeah, your
analog.
accumulator pressure. It's analog. But other than that, I mean, if you have an older model, you'll have some standby instruments
Right.
that can be analog, but mostly are just gonna be
Yeah, but
the
those standby instrument is
digital.
one of those things that you don't have to put in there, right? That you can just put a blank off plate on that shit and be done with it. So I've been toying around with the idea. So my question to you was like, if you was to do one of those things, um, which and why? Would you go Boeing or would you go Airbus? And I can tell you, you probably already what? I would say a good quarter of the way there, right?
Uh I mean, if we're trying, if yeah, probably with like with just real generic stuff,
Mm-hmm.
like the real juicy peripherals that you're gonna have your hands on the most. Yeah, because that's the main thing I wanted to go after is the idea is just to use my mouse the least amount as possible, right? So anything that's got me using the mouse the most, like EFS panels, having to constantly change the range and all that. Um, so yeah, more or less. But man, I don't know. Like I've flown a full Airbus setup and I've flown a full Boeing setup, 7.3 setup, and part of me is like, if I'm going to invest that kind of money into something like that, I'm gonna want the airplane that I'm physically touching the most, and that's gonna be Boeing. So I feel like I'm getting my money's worth out of if I'm paying to have a tangible switch.
Mm-hmm.
Let me be hitting them bitches all the time.
Yeah.
But at the same time, my interest is in Airbus. I have far more knowledge. I'm far more proficient in the Airbus. I think I would enjoy the Airbus more in that regard. But it's tough. I mean, if I had to choose, I think I would go Airbus just because that's kind of what I live and breathe right now. But like when I was on World Flight last year, and it was amazing to put my hands on the switches and the buttons and the knobs and actually be having to manipulate things a lot, whereas certain functions the Airbus is just automated.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but honestly, I think if I could have my ideal setup, and I think about this all the time. Now I'll go ahead and tell you this too. I can't say this very loud because my girlfriend's dad's in the room. But if I was single, oh, I'd have that Airbus cockpit by now. Like
Like right now.
not even a question. Yes, 100%. Not even a question.
You talk
I'd
about the
go to
Scholarchy?
Scholarkey. Yep.
Yeah.
I'd go to Scholarkey. I'd had it paid off. It wouldn't even be a thing. But got a woman in my life. She
Yeah.
helps me spend that money. Um,
Priorities, dude. Priorities.
Sometimes I question if she's worth that amount of money. But anyways, um, no, just kidding. But
Shh.
my ideal setup is if I'd probably go kind of like V1 and have a rented space separate from my house, maybe. 'Cause otherwise, I don't know how I'd have the room for it. But I would want a Boeing setup, Airbus setup, their own deals, right? Like have their own dedicated PCs. The only thing that I think gets complicated with that is like if you buy an airport, how do you get that to the other one?
Yeah.
It's just a little bit. It's more to install, right? But it's not hard to do. Then I also have like just kind of the general consumer type flight sim setup. Your Honeycomb Bravo, your TCA yoke, your TCA stick, that kind of stuff. That way for like maybe more of the GA type stuff, and I can have
Yep.
more options of airplanes. And then I want a helicopter setup. I don't know. I don't think there's as many people interested in helicopters. Like Blue, I think he knows now. He's gotten his hands on the Verpal flight controls collective
Yeah.
and stuff. I'm really close with some of the guys over at Jetline Systems. Hence, there
Yep.
that you can read it. But um, I had some conversations with one of my guys over there talking about getting me set up with a full helicopter rig, and I haven't done it yet just because of it's already crowded and cramped in this room as it is. But I am very, very, very curious about helicopters. I love helicopters. I think they're so much fun. If you ever
Oh yeah.
fly in one, you've flown in a helicopter. Whole different sensation. Just in the riding in it standpoint. So I don't know with having like DCS, Apache, and whatever that other what's that new helicopter? I can't remember. Um, but I'm very, very curious about helicopters. Like I really want to deep dive helicopters and learn the systems and fly damn helicopters. So if it was up to me, I would have 4 completely separate setups.
Yeah. I mean, ultimately, right? Yeah. That was pretty much my idea. My idea was to keep the setup for everything else and then have my dedicated sim outside in my third garage,
Hmm.
whether it's Boeing or Airbus. Another reason why I would think the Airbus, I was thinking the Airbus too, is because technically when you have an Airbus cockpit, at the very minimum you have 3 different fucking planes you can fly. Right? You got your 319, your 320, and 321. When you get a
Yeah,
Boeing cockpit, you get what, the 737. That's it. That's all you
yeah.
get. Right?
Hell, you
Sure,
could
you get
even be kind of hard pressed. You could even do a 330.
a 330. Yeah, no, I was going to say that. Yeah, it's a little different, but we do it
Hmm.
now with the headwind, right? The headwind has got a 320 cockpit in it. So technically, could I fly a 330? Yeah, you could definitely do it, right? So I think that gives you a little bit a wider range of things you could do with a Airbus cockpit. At the same time, I kind of understand your feeling is, the Boeing shit is, it's just it's there, right? You're gonna get your money
Yeah,
out of it, right?
yeah.
Because yeah, the Airbus is push that, you're done, right? Okay, now we gotta wait until when, right?
Yeah.
So I get what you're
And I
saying.
think another aspect of it too is how deep do you want to go with your simulation?
Yeah. Hmm.
If you're just trying to fly your everyday operation and fly A to B, 7.3 is probably going to be more fun because you'll be more involved and interactive
Sure.
with the cockpit. But if you try to start getting into like a lot of the stuff that we were seeing today in the level D sim, like we were going through, I know you and I talked about it before. But the first thing that we kicked things off with, we were taxing out of Boston, and we got a brake system fault, and we had to
Hmm.
pull some circuit breakers and reset that. So that was pretty cool to see. Um, then once we got airborne, we were descending into LaGuardia. We had a green hydraulic system failure. So running through some of the manuals and troubleshooting that. And that's one of the beautiful things with the Airbus is a lot of your actions are on the ECAM, and you action the ECAM, and as you
Hmm.
action, they go away. Right? That's not something you have with the 7.3. You're gonna be pulling out fucking either an
Yeah,
iPad or
manuals. Yeah.
paper. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that
Yeah.
wouldn't be to me. That wouldn't be as fun. And it just has much better like systems diagnostic pages where you can look and see like that's one of the you go through the status page and it shows you everything that's in op because of the green hydraulic failure, and it's a lot of stuff. Nothing that's major, that's really like a big threat to safety or anything, but it's a lot of items. And then you can go through your different pages. Like for example, you go to the flight control page, and you can see okay, spoiler 5 is in op, as it's also listed in the status page. There was something else that was also thrust reverser 1 in op. It's going to be gravity landing gear extension, like all that kind of stuff. So if you want to go deep into that side of things, um, then I like the Airbus because it's just, especially if you're going to be flying by yourself at
Yeah.
home late at night, eating Cheetos on VATSIM. But you can get a lot deeper and be a lot more effective as a single pilot doing that versus a 7.3. So it
Is
really
is
just comes
is
down to what you want.
is of use, right?
Yeah.
Well, Blue Game says, "Hey, Airbus has got helicopters."
Yep. So I'm sure you probably saw a lot of the footage when all those guys, all the creators went out to Grand Canyon for the
Hmm.
2024 event. So the Maverick helicopter tours that they did around the Grand Canyon, Crystal and I did that last year.
Hmm.
Her boss got us tickets to do that for her birthday, and man, and it's all kind of feeds back to what we were talking about a while ago. That sensation of the slipping and the
Oh
sliding that
yeah.
helicopter
Oh yeah.
do. But dude, yeah, I think it was an Airbus H130, or I think it's a 130. Well, it was dope.
Yeah.
It was a
Yeah.
dope helicopter, and it's crazy like how much torque that thing has, and how quickly it was able to get up and go with a full cabin of people. We had
Yeah.
7 people in there, man. It was
Yeah.
like it was nothing. High altitude, high density altitude, and that thing was climbing out like it was nobody's business. It did
Yeah. We
help.
did.
The temperatures were kind of tough.
I had a few experiences on helicopters, not civilians though. I got taken up on while I was on cruise by a search and rescue helicopter. And it was one of those deals, be like, hey man, just sign up if you want to go flying and be ready, right? So sure, I want to go flying in a helicopter. Why
Hell yeah!
not? And it
Was
was
it a
one of those,
Seahawk?
yeah, that's yuck. I think it was the command. If I remember correctly, the command was HSC 11. But that's neither here nor there. But I remember that because they had a coin that said HSC 1 second to none, some shit like that, right? So,
Ah, cool.
anyways, but I went up this helicopter. It was a non-flying day, so there was no flight schedule. It was like one of those days where no missions, right? But the helicopters still need to go up, just in case somebody falls overboard or whatever, right? So they usually take about a couple of people up with them through the whole evolution, and while they're out there, they gotta entertain themselves, dude, right? So they while they're waiting on a call of, hey, little Timmy just jumped overboard because he doesn't want to be on cruise anymore. Go get him, right? So we're up there, and the pilot looks back and he's all like, "Hey, you guys want to do some cloud surfing?" I was like, "I don't know what the shit is, but let's do it." Right, and that's literally what it was, cloud surfing. This dude, we're on top of the clouds, and this dude is flying, literally dipping down and up, and just cloud surfing, dude. And yeah, the first 5 or 10 minutes of it, I was like, but then you get used to it, right? You get used to
Yeah.
it. But it was fun. So I did that. I've flown on a Stallion, the MH-53, I
53.
think it was 53. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
flown on that. That was the scariest shit I ever done in my life. Was flying the helicopter, dude. The helicopter was so old and decrepit and broken, dude. It's not even funny.
Feels like it
Um,
was a marine transport.
so whenever you flying on any type of airplanes or helicopters, right? And the aircrew as an HSU unit, which is your hydraulic servicing unit, in the helicopter to service the helicopter in flight because it's leaking so bad. It's probably not it's probably not time to be flying that shit.
Yeah.
They literally,
Yeah.
yeah, they gotta monitor that shit, right? Because it's those fucking things leak like a sip, and they gotta service them in flight. And the pilot would literally like, "Hey man, the fluid is getting low." Yes, sir. And they're servicing the fucking hydraulic fluid, right? And you're like, "Are we
That's
there yet,
wild.
dude? Are we there?" Right? So yeah,
That's
that
wild.
and couple other times, I think, mostly that type of stuff. I went up one time as a senior senior lister guy. Somebody asked me to re-list them, so I delivered the whole for them, and he was like, "Yeah, we're gonna do it in the helicopter." I'm like, "Okay." So I went up, and as we're flying, I'm like, reading him his oath of re-enlistment. So that was pretty fun. Done that. I flew in an F-18. Um, yeah, yeah. I've flown an F-18 one time. Um, C2, the onboard delivery aircraft. The Grumman.
Hmm.
I don't know if you're familiar with that one. It's been
Oh
replaced
yeah.
now by it's getting replaced by the
Growler.
Osprey now. Uh,
Oh, okay.
no, the C2 Greyhound. I'm talking about the C2 Greyhound. It's literally the aircraft that delivers mail and passengers and
Oh, it's
stuff
got
on the
the
boat.
propellers, right?
It's propellers, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I've
Okay, yeah, yeah.
not only I worked on that plane for a long time, but I flew on that plane on and off the boat so many fucking times I lost count. So
Wow.
I've gotten shot off to them boat, and I've cut the wire so many, obviously not as many times as a pilot, but so many times that I don't even remember how many times I've done it. And the funny part is with the Greyhound is you seat backwards, you're facing the back of the plane.
Mm.
So whenever you're getting shot off the pointy end of the ship, the cats, you as soon as you get shot off, you're leaning forward. You're like, oh, you're doing this number, right? But obviously it's backwards for the landing portion, so that when you land, you sit back on your sit. So yeah, it's pretty cool shit, dude. Um, but yeah, add that experience in my belt, I guess. Fun stuff, fun stuff. So I've
That's cool.
flown obviously in the 707. That's the last 3 years. The last 3 years in the Navy, I worked on the 707s.
Wow.
Well, 707s, I guess E6B, not 707s, right? But it's a Boeing
Mhm.
707. That's
Yeah.
literally it's a freaking. I guess to put it to you mildly, it's a souped up Boeing 707, right? It's got the CFM engines, it's got beefy ass fucking engines, glass cockpit. So if you look at the cockpit of the E6B, it's literally like a 737 NG. It looks pretty damn good. The only thing it's
Wow.
got four engines, right?
Mm.
So it's all up to date. It's all updated with the glass cockpit and the beefier engines, and it's made to be able to fly fast and high and NASCAR tracks and all that good shit, right? Uh, the so-called Doomsday plane. That's what I worked on. So it was cool shit, dude. Cool stuff. Um, but yeah, what haven't we touched on, dude? Let's um, do you, before I want to touch on word flight for a little bit, if you
Sure.
don't mind, if you still have time.
Mhm.
But before we do
Yeah.
that, I need to go relieve some of that water I've been drinking.
I'm gonna do the same.
So let's do the same, guys. Let's take a small break, and we'll come back. Give us like 2 minutes. We'll go relieve our bladders here real quick, and we'll be right back. All right, we're back. All right, so last subject, and then we'll call it a day here. And if you guys have a couple of questions, we can answer those real quick. But we are very limited on time, so we're gonna touch on World Flight. I'm part of it this year for the first time ever. I am participating with Wings for Hope. I'm sure you've heard of them. Used to be called, I think they used to be called Cali Crew or something.
Cali Crew. Or no,
I
I
forget.
was on Cali Crew.
If Mav is in chat, maybe you can tell us. Anyway, something with Cali. I think it was something with Cali.
There's two California teams, if I
right.
remember. SoCal Crew, that's it.
SoCal Crew and then Cali Crew. But yeah, so I'm part of. There you go. There's Mav. I'm part of Wings for Hope. Obviously, I've always admired in the past years what they've been doing. I never thought for 1 minute that I was going to be part of something of that nature, right? But I always aspired to kind of do it, right? So I know that I talked to you and I talked to a lot of other people at the expo about the possibility of joining a team. I think after the expo, I wasn't even thinking about it anymore, to be honest with you. And in my particular occasion, I got contacted by Major Mark. I don't know if you know Mark, right? And he was like, "Hey man, we're doing this. You know, the World Flight with Wings for Hope, and why don't you come talk to us? And it'd be cool to have you on board and this, and that, and the other." So I sat down, talked to Midnight Mav and Mark himself, and the whole ordeal. What are we doing? Why we're doing it? I think the cause is outstanding. Aside from obviously the fact of hanging out with a lot of good people and like-minded people, people that love the hobby, as well as doing it for a huge cause, right? So that's the main thing, right? At the end of the day, so I am flattered, honored, humbled to be able to partake. And Midnight Maverick is doing a bang of job of putting the whole damn sim together. It's gonna be great. Whether stuff, we might have some wrong side moments, right? It's possible, right? To where something is not working or whatever, and we might toss an iPad across the room. But at the end of the day, we got to focus on why we're there and why we're doing it and all the good stuff. At the same time, we'll get to hang out with some good people, maybe do some dinners and stuff like that. But I am hoping this is going to be the first time for me, so I can't tell you, hey, it's a great experience. I'm sure it's going to be a great experience. But you, on the other hand, have already experienced it. So let's make that our last subject. Again, guys in chat, if you have a couple of questions you want to ask, please put them in the chat, and we'll get to them as we wrap things up. And I'll give the word to Wrongside and tell us a little bit about World Flight and your experiences in the past. How many times have you done it? That type of stuff.
Yeah. So last year, I met the team that I ended up being on. Met them at Expo as well. Amazing group of guys. So for those of you who aren't familiar with World Flight and what it is a week-long charity event, multiple flight sim teams. The stipulation is it has to be in a full cockpit setup. But more or less, it's called World Flight because you're completing essentially a bunch of flights around the world. Um, Through doing that, each team will partner with a bunch of different donors and sponsors, typically flight sim related, but not always. They'll donate products to give away, and I'm not sure how other teams did it, but for us, if you made a donation of any sort, then you were automatically entered into a giveaway. And we would do um, roughly 1 to 2 giveaways per flight, which is a
Raffles.
lot.
Raffles. Raffles.
Right? Yeah, raffle. Yeah,
Raffles.
good, good catch.
We gotta be we gotta be PC'd with this one, right? You gotta be politically correct. It's a raffle. It's not a giveaway.
It is raffle. Yeah, that's why I say like for every donation, your name goes in the hat, right?
Right.
Because it's a raffle. Your name gets entered into the raffle. We were doing 1 to 2 per flight, which is, if you think about how many raffles or giveaways that is, it's a ton when you're flying literally 7 straight days of multiple flights. And so ultimately, all the money that's raised will go to a charity of that team's choice. For us, it was Angels Flight West, and they do a lot of volunteer work, flying patients who can't afford to do so for special medical treatment and things of that nature. They have volunteer pilots, and they volunteer their airplanes and that kind of stuff. So that's who we raised money for. But at least on our side, once I met the guys that were on the team, and it kind of had like the initial invite. We went through 2 to 3 months of training for it. Our training captain, his name is Shane, goes by Captain Chemtrails. Amazing dude. He's a Delta 73 captain. He kind of provided a lot of the material for us, from the flows, the checklist, the briefings, and then we would take that and use your controls to try to put ourselves into a multi-crew environment as best as we could, and we would practice said flows and checklists and briefings and crew resource management, all the things that happen in the flight deck. And so we kind of practice all of that, ultimately to end up to do our check ride. The check ride was mostly, at least described by Shane, was mostly what you would see in a real world airline check ride, minus the failures. You had to be proficient in both the left seat, the right seat, pilot flying, pilot monitoring. Had to do like go arounds, holds, while you're in the hold, you're discussing a different strategy. Where can we go? Have that plan. All the things that you would do as an airline pilot. We just didn't do any of the failures.
Right.
So back to your point about the wrong side moment, it was realistic enough to definitely cause quite a bit of stress and duress. And at least during my check ride, I had a little bit of a wrong side moment. But it nothing to the extent that we showed earlier. But anyways, passed and was officially on the team. And unfortunately, I only had the time. I was scheduled for 2 flights. I was going to go in on that first Sunday of the event. My sister got married in Vegas on Saturday, and so I was going to jump seat over to LA. I had the one day to devote as much time to flying as possible, and then I had to be back in Florida for work. Ultimately, due to the sheer event volume, because all of this takes place on VATSIM, you have the official teams, but then you also have everybody at their home PCs that are flying as well. So there's a ton of traffic. So it was my understanding, before I got there on the inbound flight, they had to hold for 2 hours. Imagine that, sitting there spinning in circles for 2 hours. That's unreal. Probably wouldn't happen much in the real world because dispatchers ain't going to give that gas. But they held for 2 hours, shot the approach, had to go miss for traffic on the runway, come back around, and then finally land. So we were well behind schedule, and left me only with enough time to do 1 flight. My flight was somewhere in Brazil. It was about a 3-hour flight. But man, it's super fun. Like, you go through the whole thing. You got the headsets on, you're doing your flows and your briefings and your checklists and all the things. And like it's obviously you're in a full cockpit setup, so that by itself makes it immersive. But when you have another dude or another chick to your side who knows what they're doing and has been versed into all this stuff, and you can work like a team in the way that we all kind of wish we could streaming, where you try to be fast and like you're talking out loud, because it's almost like we're trying to give that effect of like what pilots are doing in the cockpit when they're like making their call outs and doing their thing.
Absolutely.
So like you find it's almost like you finally have like reached what you've been striving for as a simmer for so long that you're in that environment. You just feel it feels borderline real. You just don't have
Hmm.
emotion, and it is incredibly gratifying. Um, but it's just you make a lot of friends. It's an amazing event. It's obviously for a great cause. Um, I won't be in it again this year. Our team, we lost our sim this year.
Oh,
It
that
has,
sucks. I didn't know that.
yeah, the sim owner had to bug out, but our team, like we've replaced it. We got another one, but it's too close to the event to be able to get it all set up, get all the training and like all that. We need 2 to 3 months at a minimum just for the training aspect of it,
Right.
much less getting the sim physically put together and all. So we should be back in it next year. It's the type of event, at least for me. I plan on like devoting vacation time to
Oh yeah,
this event.
absolutely. Yeah.
Um, if I can take the full entire week to go do this, and especially after last year only being able to fly one flight, I felt like I didn't I didn't provide the most support to my team. Um, I hated that. And obviously,
Was that because of limitation with time off? You was only able to go for 1 day or something? Okay.
yeah, yeah, I had the one day. I would have been there on the day before, but that was the day my sister was getting married, so
Gotcha.
couldn't bail on that. I would have much rather have been flying the sim than go to my sister's wedding. I can tell you that much. It'd be a lot more fun. But yeah, so I only got to fly the one flight, and I hated that that was the only because it seems like no matter what staffing, so to speak, becomes an issue. It's really hard for anybody to be there for the full 7 days. And afford to pay for the food and the lodging and all the stuff that comes with that. Um, but so that's why in the future I plan on trying to devote like an entire week to it. I'm there for every flight that I'm needed. Because on our team, it got to the point where a lot of the same guys were having to just like rep it out over and over again,
Yeah.
like very little sleep, quick turns on the sleep. That's not great. So, um, next year when we have everything back up and running, I'm gonna be
Yeah.
unless like some sort of like major life thing happens.
Sure.
I was
Sure.
just told
Sure.
today that we're actually in my new position. We're going to be awarded another week of vacation. It's not a week that you can select when you go on it. They'll tell you like, hey, this day to this day, just don't come to work, kind of thing.
There you go. Yeah.
Which is cool. It'll give me even more time for the vacation that I can dedicate to something. I can put a solid
Yeah.
7 days towards it and actually like be a full part of the team in the way that it should. Because
Yeah.
it's a huge opportunity to be able to go fly a full cockpit sim, and any amount of money that you spend to be on the team and to make it where you can be out there for your lodging and your food, whatnot, 100% worth it.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
From the
A
from the
lot of these
cost to
people,
the
there's a lot of
go ahead,
people
I'm sorry.
that don't know that. We had some people that try to apply to the team, and the minute they find out that what I gotta pay for lodging and I gotta pay for my plane ticket, you guys are not gonna fly me out there. Well, nobody. No, this is for charity, bro. This is not,
Yeah,
this is not like, hey, we want you here. If this is something you're gonna want to do for a certain cause, you're not coming here because you want to shake Captain Canada's hand. You know what I'm saying? As much as a
yeah,
lot of people like, oh, I want to be part of that team because this guy is there, right? That's not the reason. The reason is the
yeah,
charity first and foremost.
yeah,
Is That's the big ticket, right? And then obviously with that comes everything else. The ability to be able to do two, captain and FO hops the right way and get that full immersive experience, right? I think that's amazing. And like you said, spend some time with some great people, some great friends that you get to meet and go out to dinner and have some fun as well in the process. So yeah, it's like I said, this is the first for me. I'm going for the full time. I took the whole time. I bought tickets. I'm going out there, and I'm gonna be there from start to finish. I hope I can do as much flying as I can possibly can, and get to have some fun and make a bunch of money for the charity event. So hopefully we can make that happen.
heck yeah,
Um,
man.
Cali Simmer says it was a super fun. It was super fun. Wrong side had an amazing landing. We also had a live podcast with XP72 during the cruise during the World Flight event. Nice.
Yeah,
That's awesome, dude.
yeah, it was awesome. Callie was in the jump seat, and Shadow Dark, good buddy of mine,
Yeah.
he was in the FO seat.
Yeah.
I was in the left seat, and yeah, like we had XP on the whole time throughout most of the flight to talk, and then we did our little raffles and stuff, and it was awesome.
Yeah, it's a good
And
time, man.
somehow I don't know how, I'm pretty sure it was a glitch in the sim. I had a negative 22 on the landing rate,
He said I'm pretty sure it was a
so
glitch.
so the matrix was definitely at work, but
Hey,
no, it
man.
was a ton of fun.
A lot of times I don't care about the numbers. I put the landing rate monitor up for the viewers. They want to see that shit, right? I don't care. If I land, I already know, right? When I land, I'm like, okay, this was a good landing. Sometimes I land and it's like, oh, this was great. And then I look at the landing rate and it says 350. I'm like, what the fuck? There's no way, right?
And I
So
tell you too, like the other
yeah.
cool thing in all of this is like how good the pilot is next to you. Whenever on my leg, and I hadn't flown it before, so I had no way of knowing. But there was an issue with the yoke because like we had force feedback and everything in the yoke, right? So that was a whole new experience for me too. Was having to compare it to the TCA yoke that
Right.
it's not going to fight you. So having to fight the yoke, there's an issue where the airplane was continuously trying to roll left, and I was having to give like a lot of input just to keep wings level.
Yeah.
So on short final, I was kind of battling that, and Anthony was like, he was kind of my eyes and ears. I mean, obviously I'm looking at the instruments and stuff, but I'm really fighting the yoke. And he was talking me down like in an amazing way. There's a pre-recorded video on my channel of that landing, and you can see what I'm talking about, where he's talking me through, and it's like, all right, come to do this, do that. All right, hook it one more time, bam, there you go, you're good. And it just kind of boosted that confidence as I'm sitting here trying to fight this yoke. Of course, after my leg, when other guys got in who had already flown it and knew how the yoke was supposed to be, they found out, oh, there's a malfunction, we got to get it fixed. So it was weird having to fight the yoke, but I had a good dude to my right that like taught me through everything. We
Well,
didn't want to go around. We were so far behind in the schedule. We're like, we're not going around. We're going to land, even though like we're a little bit high on the approach. We're a little bit unstable, but we can get it corrected.
what's that video you're talking about? The one that says "World Flight flown with uh,
Yeah,
shuttle
that should
Dartfall."
be it. Yeah.
All right. Well, I tell you what, we are going to put that up at the end of the stream, and they'll, if you don't mind, of
No,
course.
not at all.
When should towards the end, right? The landing, you said.
Yeah.
Let me
I don't know
see.
how the
Where
copyright stuff goes with that, but
is there any music in there, or
no. I just don't
I
know if
mean,
it's able to track the audio and tell like it's not technically your content. I don't know if there's an approval process or
well,
something you can put
the
in the
thing
description
is,
that'll.
this is your video, right? So if you give me
Yeah.
permission to put the video up, then if you don't strike me for a copyright, we should be fine.
Oh no, I won't. Okay.
I'm
I
just
thought the
trying to figure
copyright stuff
out.
was all automated.
No, just trying to figure out at which point we should watch this. Right here.
Yeah, it should be towards the very end. I'll get you the minute marker.
Yeah, just a
Probably
few
around like
more.
3 hours and 21 minutes or so.
Perfect. There it is. All right, we'll put this up at the end. All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that is it for today 101. Again, Blake, wrong side simulation in the house. I want to say thank you for coming out today. Thank you for taking the time, man. I really do appreciate it. If you want to check out Blake's channel, let me put this up real quick before we let everybody go. Obviously, there it is, wrong side simulation. Boom, there it is, wrong side simulation. That's exactly how you'll put it on YouTube. If you haven't already done so, please head on over to his channel, give him a subscribe, go watch some of his stuff. He has some amazing content. He has some good stuff on his channel, and he's a fellow bro, man. I relate a lot with Blake. Unfortunately, we didn't spend too much time together at Expo, but maybe on the next one, man, we'll definitely hang out and enjoy
Yeah.
some. We can break some bread or something, man.
Absolutely.
Hey, it's been fun, dude. I really do appreciate you. Thank you, everybody that tuned in today. Really do appreciate you, Blake. We'll probably do this again, man. I don't know. Maybe after 2024 comes out, or maybe after the the World Flight, and we can share some more experiences, and we can talk about that after the World Flight. But we'll definitely have you back on, man. It's been a blast. Thank you so
I
much for
would
coming
love
on.
to.
Thank you so much
Oh,
for
thanks for having me.
talking to us about dispatching and flight simming and all that good stuff, man. And yeah, um,
Absolutely. I
absolutely,
appreciate
man.
it. And
We'll
for the chat, if any of y'all are ever curious as to more of the kind of dispatch oriented stuff, like fuel policies, how does the dispatcher actually fuel an airplane if it's an international or domestic flight, that kind of stuff. I got a lot of that kind of content where we'll go plan the flight based off of that topic, and then we'll go fly the flight in the sim. I see the man, the myth, the legend, Captain Chemtrails, the guy we've been talking about. He is in the chat.
oh,
Awesome
there it
dude right
is.
there.
Hey, welcome aboard, man. Welcome. Good to see you.
Awesome dude. You've
All
met him.
right,
You met him at
fellas.
Expo.
Oh yeah, I met a lot of those guys you mentioned at the expo. Yeah, like I said, we were talking about possibly joining the team and all that good stuff. But yeah, yeah. Hey guys, it's been fun. Again, thanks again, Blake. Appreciate you coming on by. Everybody in chat, thank you for sticking around. If you haven't done so on the way out, please go ahead and smash the like button for me. That helps out immensely. And until next time, I salute you all. Please continue, have fun, stay safe, and as always, peace out, guys. We are out of here. We shall see you. Let's make this bigger for these guys. Bam.